Welcome to The Radiant Life with Tatiana. I am your host, and I'm obsessed with empowering you to live and create the best life possible. I'm a master mindset coach, breathwork facilitator, and a passionate little Latina who loves sharing the magic behind your subconscious mind and energetics. If you're looking to uplevel your mindset, learn all about spirituality and manifestation, and to be inspired and making a change to embody your best self, you are in the right place. My goal is for you to see and unlock your limitless potential, to have the tools to break free from the chains holding you back so you can create and live your most radiant life. I'm so excited to have you here listening today. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hello, loves, and welcome to another episode of The Radiant Life. I'm excited and also nervous to have you here, blushing a little bit, as you can tell by the title. I have Evan here with me, and we're here to talk about our story, our journey of how breaking up actually brought us closer together. So welcome, babe, to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, and first ever podcast appearance in my career. So looking forward to it, and let's dive in.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm going to start off with just saying, hopefully the audio is good enough. This is my first time using two mics. Evan doesn't have the loudest podcast voice that we just realized.
I can speak up.
Okay, cool. Are you nervous?
A little bit. First podcast ever, so I'm excited more than anything. And
the most vulnerable podcast in your first podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a little nervous, you guys. I'm not gonna lie. This is really vulnerable for us to share. I have kept our relationship like pretty quiet, especially like the depth of our relationship, and I always have like clients asking me. There's just a lot, and I feel like now I'm finally ready to speak on it because there's been a lot of healing and growth and transformation. And my intention for this, you can share your intention if you have a separate one, is to, one, share our journey, because I know when we share our stories, our struggles, our lessons, that helps others. And I know our story is very powerful just based on the conversations we've had with people so far. And a lot of the lessons we've learned, we've been able to really help other relationships or other people in their life. And I really want to share this with you guys. I know if this just touches one person, one relationship, it's going to be huge. That's my intention. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Well, first and foremost, Todd, I want to stop you and acknowledge you for this podcast. It's been awesome to watch the growth and progress you've made, and really proud of what you've been able to do with it. So it's been awesome to see. And in terms of intentions, just kind of the lessons learned along the way, I think it makes you realize that many people go through ups and downs in relationships. And so you're not alone in that. For you guys listening to this, and excited to share our story and kind of the takeaways that we've learned over the years.
Yeah, I feel like for me, maybe for you too, I feel that when you listen to real authentic relationships or struggles, not even relationships, just what people go through, you realize it's not all fairy tales. You'll learn that I literally thought relationships were a fairy tale for myself at one point. And so we're excited to share our journey. So we're just going to share a little background on our story, how we met. We've had, I won't say we've had a really rocky road since the day we met. It's just been an extreme journey that I don't think people know the depth of, and we're going to share as much as we feel comfortable sharing, because it can be pretty vulnerable, and then share about our most recent breakup and what we truly have done in the last almost year to really heal and overcome that, how we got back together, and the lessons we learned, how we have, I would say, how we're such a stronger couple. And yeah,
I agree. I wouldn't use the word rocky. I think it's been a lot of ups and downs, extreme highs, extreme lows, and life happens. It's a roller coaster along the way. And what I can say now is that we brought a lot of happiness to each other. But let's dive in. Where do we begin?
Okay, so let's start with how we met. So we are both UMass Amherst graduates. Go you, Minutemen. So we met our sophomore year of college. So what was that? That was like November 2013.
2013.
I remember because it was my best friend's birthday's weekend, Kelly Mann.
Okay.
If you're listening, shout out to you.
Shout out to Kelly Mann. We love you.
Okay, so when we met, okay, let me just shake it off and breathe. Okay. So when we met, I was healing from a breakup, an old relationship that was a long relationship and at a very young age. And so there was still a lot of healing to do. And I was, in college, and that was a time when I was on antidepressants and anti-anxiety because of that. And drinking was not a good mix to it. So at that point, I was single. I was getting over a really bad breakup or heartbreak. And no guys caught my eye. I don't know, it was 6 months, or I don't even remember how many months, but I just wasn't interested because my heart was so broken. And then Evan came into my life.
What was it that caught your eye?
Your eyes, actually.
Okay.
So the night we met, our mutual friend introduced us. You grew up with him, and he was a friend of mine, and they came up to my dorm room to pregame. And oh my goodness, the outfit I was wearing that night was so awkward.
And just to clarify for everybody, this was sophomore year.
Sophomore year of college, so 2013.
Yep.
And so I remember signing them in. If you went to college, signing dorm people, maybe you didn't do that. I don't know. We had lived in towers, so we had to sign everybody in. And I just remember it was your eyes. It's your blue eyes.
That was the first time we met.
That was the first time we met. And so whatever. Okay, so we met. And I was really intrigued, and I had a few drinks in me. And you were the first person that I really wanted to impress. The first person that I was kind of oh.
I still remember that night like it was yesterday.
Yeah, me too. And it's funny because you're really not my type. So I was interesting, that. You made my heart or my stomach flutter a little bit. Okay, so at that point when we met, it was just a pregame, and for a few months, November, December, we were just friendly. We kept in contact. Our friends kind of kept coming. We kept seeing each other just a little bit more often.
I remember over winter break we kept in contact.
Yeah,
for those
just texting
six
a little bit here or there.
Yeah.
And so eventually we got back to school and hung out, and that's when I noticed I started to have a crush on you.
Really?
Yeah, because I was just I was just there's something different. Okay. And this is also when I noticed feeling really torn. And I felt really guilty for having feelings for another man. There's a fire alarm going off right now. Do you hear that right now? That would happen. We're gonna keep going.
We're gonna ignore it.
That is when I was feeling really torn and guilty. And you guys know that I have had, a lot of healing work and growth work, and this is really where it stems from. So bear with me. This is a little, I wouldn't say awkward. It's just vulnerable for me to share.
And just to backtrack a little bit to the beginning, right? So from my perspective, I show up to UMass, 18 years old. I'm this naive kid that fully intended to enjoy it to the best of my ability. Show up, party, be single, try to get some good grades, build a future for myself and make a name for myself. But I still remember, telling people, even my mom, I'm not getting a girlfriend until junior year. And that was a takeaway for me because, that's not really how life works. Things happen along the way, and ended up meeting this girl sophomore year, and sometimes you can't time these things. It's just life, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing because I didn't expect to meet someone. I was really attached to that previous relationship, and so life throws curveballs at you. And when you came into my life, it was exciting and new, and at the same time, I felt really guilty and shame for having feelings for another man for some reason, even though I was single and I had the right to. And so in that moment, I decided to stay single. And throughout college, we weren't dating, but we were definitely hooking up.
We had our freedom. But
we had our freedom. We were hooking up.
But we were, progressing and hanging out a lot.
Yeah, and the issue with that was that I was really struggling of letting go of my past. I had attachments. my ex just like came into a life at a very vulnerable stage in my life when my parents got divorced. And I just want to share this because when we go through significant times in our lives, the people around us serve us a purpose, and sometimes we can hold on and get really, really attached when they're not meant to be there forever. I tell my clients all the time, people come into our lives for a reason, for a season, or for a lifetime. And I really was struggling to let go. And because of that, I carried around a lot of guilt and a lot of shame. And I was living a double life, essentially. And
okay, so what happens next?
So the lesson with that is you can't welcome something new in until you fully release and heal the old. So as we're going through our story, babe and listeners, I really want to share like stepping stones and like lessons throughout the way, because there's a lot. And if we don't learn the lessons, we're going to repeat them in our lives. And I think this is a big reason why I want to share our story, because hopefully our lessons can save you from a hardship and a lesson yourself. So big, I tell my clients all the time, you can't bring in that new car that you just bought until you get the old one out of the garage, fully out of the driveway, and sold. It's the same thing with people in relationships.
That's a good analogy.
And I hadn't done that. I had both cars parked in the driveway, essentially.
I remember.
Yeah, it was sticky. It was really sticky. And I later learned that when to get closure with someone, I think the big excuse that I kept telling myself in the head was like, I need closure. And I had to give myself the closure, and I couldn't get the closure from my previous relationship. So just some lessons. And so at the same time, I was really open though. Like we were single, we were able to do what we wanted, but we obviously had feelings for each other. And You guys remember the day I sat in the car with Evan and I looked at you and I said, what? I will never date you.
This was my car. I remember vividly. She told me she would never date me, and I was not gonna take no for an answer.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit of like what you were thinking about.
So again, I came into college, looking for just to have fun and kind of experience it right to the fullest. And it wasn't until I met you that things changed a bit. There was something different about Tatiana. She was unique.
Yeah, but like, what made you still stick around? Like, were you just fine? Like, what made you? If someone told you, I'm never gonna date you, like, why were you still friends with me?
I think it was just persistence, right? Like, I knew I knew there was something different about you, and that I wanted to pursue it, and I wasn't gonna.
Even though I said it's never gonna happen.
She said she's never gonna happen multiple times. By the way, it wasn't just one time. It was. Me persisting.
I think it was because you liked
for a long time.
Because everybody, you always want what you can't have. Evan definitely was privileged and had the ability to have a lot in college. If you get the drift I'm saying, I think I was a girl that I was like, no, and I think you were like, oh, I want what I can't have. I'm gonna go chase her.
That was definitely part of it, and I almost saw it as a challenge, but also really enjoyed spending time with you and wanted to pursue that further. And so I was not ready to let that just flame out.
So let's talk about like, what would you learn or lessons or recommend or not recommend? Because like we had, I would say, categorized as an open relationship, right? Your typical college relationship where you're hooking up with multiple people. And like my perspective, like I don't recommend it because when you open your heart to someone and start hooking up, feelings come and you're spending your time, your energy, and you're opening yourself up to possibly getting very, very hurt. And like, luckily for us, we're here, we're together, but it also created really sticky situations with our relationship. And I've seen other relationships like it end horribly. Like, what, I don't know, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the lesson or takeaway for me was, don't give up if it's something you really want in your life, right? Especially a woman or, a significant other.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, what do you think about, like did you not think that was touchy territory to be like in an open relationship, or was that because I said no?
It was mostly because you said no. It was tough for me. It was a challenge, right? Because I got to a point where I wanted to just be with you, and I sort of enjoyed the freedom still because you were saying no, right? But that's not necessarily what I really wanted.
Gotcha.
Deep down.
Gotcha.
Maybe I didn't express that at the time.
So it hurt.
It hurt.
Yeah,
it hurt.
see? Like,
and, I didn't give up. And that's why we're here today.
Yeah, and I feel like our society, I know, I mean, think about the divorce rate. Like, people give up really easily. We gave up. Like, and we're going to get into that in a little bit here. But I guess at the end of the story is, like, whatever age you're at, whether you're in college or maybe if you're in high school, I don't know if high schoolers listen to this, but, or adults, like, just carelessly hooking up with people can just, it can cause sticky situations and you can get really hurt, and it doesn't always end in a loving relationship that we have ended with. So, okay, let's keep moving on. Sorry, you guys, we're talking a lot.
Next phase.
So we graduated college. We are still not officially together. We are still doing our own like half in, half out thing, like just not in it.
Keep in mind, this is 2 years in the making, guys.
Yeah, we met in 2013, fall of 2013, and we graduated spring of 2016.
It's 2.5 years.
So 2.5 years. Oh my God. And
of me convincing her to
date
me.
And I just kept going back and forth. Like, this is why I love the work. I really got into the work I did because I didn't know how to let go. I didn't know how to heal. I didn't know how to release people, things, like envisioning of the past. And I was living in the past. I got stuck in a cycle. So that's why I love what I do. So we graduated college. We got our corporate jobs. We were slowly getting more serious, and I was slowly committing more and more to him. He did ask me out a few times, and I was just kind of like beat around the bush that I wasn't ready yet. Awkward.
To this day, the best sale I've ever made.
What are you talking? You never got me. We don't have an anniversary, you guys, because I never said yes.
Eventually it worked out.
The first time I like finally admitted like you were my boyfriend was my sister's 21st birthday, and you were coming over, and all my family was coming over, and I was just like, by the way, guys, I have a new boyfriend, and like that was just that commitment day, and it was a half-ass commitment, and
that was what 2017.
Yeah, that was 2017. So a lesson in this one: make a commitment. Like in anything that you do in life, relationships, career, a hobby, like you can't like go all in, because you having one foot in the door and one foot out, it ain't gonna fucking work. And you need to just make a decision. And worst case scenario, you make another decision after that, and it redirects you in your path. And I got stuck in this limbo. I was so paralyzed of like, oh my God, what if I make the wrong decision? Like, what if I go out with him and he's not the right person? Because like I had this big, and I'll talk more about this, like this big idea in my head that like I was going to meet this Prince Charming because of the fairy tales, or God was going to like drop me or have a billboard sign saying like, this is your husband. And like, it just, I don't know. I just got in my head. So we were working through corporate. We know that during this time, I really struggled with myself, my mental health, my mindset. I was in a corporate job really like that I hated, and I was really, really struggling. And I noticed that you were there. You really supported me through that. You encouraged me. And when I made the decision to like become a personal trainer, to do a bodybuilding show, like you were by my side, workouts. Oh, I'm so grateful for you. And
you crushed it.
The food.
You crushed it. You were doing double session workouts before and after work.
Yeah, and then
personal training at night.
And then I told you I was moving to Florida.
You did.
Spring of 2018. How did that feel?
That was tough. That was a challenge. I mean, I knew it was sort of your dream, since you were a young kid, but for me it was tough. My whole life was in Boston. Family, friends, job. Mm-hmm. All of it. So, it was a lot to take in.
Yeah. So I moved down. Oh, do you have anything else to say? Sorry.
And ultimately, I supported you in it, but it was tough.
Yeah, it was tough. So I moved down, and we did long distance for about like 9. No, not even 9. I don't know.
It was close to a year. It was close, maybe 9 months. 10 months.
like more like 7, 8, 9 months. Anyways, and then we broke up. So this is a lot. This is something that many of you may not know, that the last breakup we just went through was not our first breakup. In January, February 2019, I was hitting a really like dark place personally. Entrepreneurship is a battle, and it is a like, let's open up all your wounds and scars. Like, you will see your shadows, your dark sides, your insecurities. Like, there was just a lot coming up to the surface, and I didn't feel good enough. I felt kind of like ashamed of where I was in my career. And on top of that, I was still struggling with fully letting go of my past and healing it, because I never fully got closure from that relationship when I first met Evan. And if you don't heal, if you don't get closure, like, that wound's gonna still kind of be like there. It's not gonna like fully be healed. And so I couldn't fully move on. It was taking a lot of mental capacity, emotional capacity, and I had a lot of guilt. I was carrying around a lot of guilt. And then the long distance, that played a really big role.
Right. I mean, I think what you were going through was a big part of it, but from my perspective, the long distance thing was very tough.
Yeah,
right? Like, not seeing you, and seeing you once a month, maybe, if I was lucky.
It was, you're lucky, because I didn't even have the money then to like come back home and fly.
Yeah, and I would fly down, and I liked it, but I wasn't in a position where I was ready to.
You were like, I'm never leaving Boston.
To make the move. I was a Boston guy, right? Like, that's where my work was, my family, friends, etc. My roots. And so, while I liked Florida at the time, I wasn't fully convinced to make that move, and that definitely contributed to that first breakup.
Yeah. And so I don't even know like what that moment was. I was like, no, I don't want to be broken up. I want to get back together. Like, I kind of hid a lot from you of like my entrepreneur struggles.
Why was that?
I just had the belief that I was just going to like start my business and like take off. And I mean, me moving down to Florida and me starting my own business, a lot of people had doubt in me and doubt. And I didn't want to come off as a failure. And it was like, I didn't feel comfortable sharing with you like my finances, because that was the time frame where I emptied out my entire checkings account to pay off a credit card for the second business program that I did. And like,
communication was part of it.
Yeah. I just was like, I felt embarrassed.
Okay.
I'm a really independent woman, and I didn't want to tell you and have you be like, okay, I'll pay for your flight home. Or I don't know. There was just like a lot of shit. And I was probably telling myself so many excuses and stories. But so anyways, we got back together.
Well, starting your own business, first of all, not easy. So I commend you for that and acknowledge you. That's takes a lot of guts and passion, and really proud of you for chasing your dreams, and regardless of that first breakup and it contributing to that, really proud of you. So
yeah, and then
congrats on that.
Thanks, baby. So let's keep going, because I feel like we have so much to share.
So we were broken up about 3 months.
Yeah, I don't even know. Something like that.
4 months.
No. I think it was 3.
And I was still up in Boston. You were still.
Yeah. So, and you guys, like, when we got back together, I was like, I'll move back to Boston. Like, I love you.
Yeah, she did say that. She did say that.
And so he was like, okay, fine.
So that was my plan all along.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, cool. Like, let's get back together. You'll move back up to Boston in like a year. Cool. And then I don't know, a few months after, like the fall, I was like, yeah, I'm not moving back. Like, I'm like probably never gonna move back to Boston.
Correct.
And you're like, okay. And that's like when you were considering business school. So we kind of just like were like, let's just let life flow. Hindsight, like if you joined business school, babe, I don't think like we would be together at this point.
I don't think so either.
Like that's the thing. Like sometimes certain decisions bring you on completely different timelines or paths in your life.
Well, that's a whole different conversation where one little decision can change everything, right?
Yeah.
But that was kind of an oh shit moment for me, where I was like, damn, this girl is not coming back. Like if I want to make this work, I better find some opportunities in Florida, right?
Yeah.
And so I ended up, we get back together. I end up visiting regularly, probably once or twice a month at one point.
Yeah, we
Once
did.
a month.
And then
And I end up meeting a bunch of people down here and just getting a taste for the quality of life.
well,
and
COVID happened.
Oh, that's a whole different conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, COVID happened. And
So talk about things happening
for us, for a reason.
or that can alter the trajectory of your life. COVID completely changed everything.
Yeah, I gave you the opportunity. So I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but
Well, first of all, that sort of put business school on the back burner.
Mm-hmm. And it let you
Right.
come down for 6 weeks.
And then, all of a sudden, overnight, essentially, I go from working every day in the office in Boston to working remote full time.
Yeah, and so I was like, babe, come get quarantined with me.
So April 2020, I come down for 6 weeks.
Yeah, and it just shows that, like, when things seem horrible and like the world is ending, literally, like, because everybody thought that, there's always great opportunity if you shift your perspective. And that's what we did. We were like, okay, cool, like, this is happening for us, what can this do for us? And we're like, why don't we spend time together? And so he came down for 5 to 6 weeks. I hid that from all of my family members except my parents and all of social media because I was so terrified.
Well, it
was
frowned upon.
Yeah, everybody was like, don't travel. Like, Evan, do you remember this? Like, you wore gloves, you like wore rubber gloves, you wore a mask, and I made you wrap your entire suitcase in a trash bag.
I remember.
And I made him strip at the front door.
Well, nobody knew what was going on. It was some crazy times.
Yeah, it was
right?
scary.
Like, nobody knew how deadly this thing was. It was very early on.
Yeah.
Everything was shut down in Boston.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even go out. I couldn't walk down the street without a mask. So
I mean,
it was a perfect opportunity to come down and work remote.
And we were like, well, I guess let's see if we work good living together. And so you were here for 5 or 6 weeks. It went well. It really did.
It did.
And then opportunities arose. Your old boss was like, hey, do you want to work down here?
Yeah. So I had the opportunity to come down and actually take a promotion within the same company.
I know.
Down in South Florida. So the timing, worked out and the stars kind of aligned to make it happen. And everything was shut down up north. I wasn't even seeing my friends anyways.
Yeah. So taking a leap of faith.
I kind of said, screw it. Let's do this.
Like, the life is always happening for you. You could have thrown a hissy fit, or we could have broken up because I said I wasn't, an opportunity arose and you seeked it. And
it's, sometimes it's about finding the silver linings, right? Like, I don't think we'd be here today if COVID didn't happen.
100%.
I don't know.
No, 100%. Because if you went to business school, I just don't think we would.
Or if I stayed up in Boston,
yeah.
right?
So
that's
God.
That's one of the takeaways for me is even how bad COVID was, right? Like, in certain ways, part of it was a good silver lining there.
For sure. Like, there was a blessing in disguise,
and
always.
Not to mention I love it down here now.
Yeah, because Florida's fucking amazing.
So
Anyways,
it
okay.
Worked out.
So you move down. So Evan moves in to my apartment with my sister, 2-bed, 2-bath. And so this is when things start getting interesting because it was a small space. We were all working from home. My business, I just had so much going on. I was taking off and things were just adding up. And I hit burnout. I had no time for me because of business and because Evan was working in my bedroom where my office was. So he took that. So I was working in the living room, kitchen area. And so I literally was living in the same room 24/7.
And I had guilt from that, right? It was causing us to butt heads.
And I was having a little resentment because he took my space, right?
Right. And I felt bad about that.
Yeah. And at the same time, because I didn't have my space to do self-care, to take care of myself, I hit burnout and I shut down, and that's when I shut you out. And when that happened, that's when a lot of my past baggage came up. So what I share with the world, my clients, is when we suppress memories, emotions, shit that happens to us, trauma, it will come back up. What you resist will persist, and it will continue to come back in ways for you to heal it. And that may look like attracting different people in your life that do the same things for you until you set the boundaries and stick up for yourself, or you know what I mean, the same situations for you to learn the lessons, for you to heal what you need to heal and work through. So at that time, a lot of my past baggage and trauma came up surrounding my parents and their divorce when I was a child, and my ex, and it was fucking heavy. Like energy, like I've never felt energy that heavy before. Like it was so hard. I tried being honest with you, yet I was still beating around the bush. Like, I don't know if you remember those conversations.
Well, I think we weren't communicating the way we should have been.
I was like, but that's what I'm saying.
We
like,
weren't
I tried
open with each
being
other.
honest with you, but I just wasn't communicating, and I just kept breaking down, and I was shutting you out. I stayed at my friend's house for a few nights because, like, I was really struggling. And so a big lesson at this point in our time was you need to have alone time. You need to give yourself space from your job, from your kids, from your spouse, from everything. Like, you need to take care of yourself, because if you don't, you can't show up in every area of your life the best version of yourself. And I preached that at the time. I just wasn't doing a good enough job giving myself the time, because I just wasn't.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think part of it too was I was working long hours, and I wasn't putting the relationship first.
Yeah, I don't think either of us were. Our like careers were really going.
Yeah,
heavy.
I don't think either of us were, but
I think that shows like
that compounded the issue that we were having at the time.
Yeah,
and then on top of it, we weren't communicating. We weren't being open and transparent.
Yeah, on top of that, my baggage was coming up, and then on top of that, you bought a fucking house, and
yes, which you would think would be a positive for the relationship to upgrade the space and get a bigger place.
And I freaked out. This was I didn't know it at the time. It was after. I just like wasn't ready to commit. It just felt really scary. I also didn't like feel worthy of like him buying a house and me having this much space, and like I wasn't like contributing that much. And so I ran away. I shut down. I shut you out, and I ran away. And that's, I guess now you guys know, like that's a big reason why I went to Costa Rica for a month, if you didn't know that already. Where I went to Costa Rica to really give myself the space and care that I didn't have for months prior. And I had a lot of healing to do from my past, just growing up. And it did do that. It really did serve a lot of that. And there was just so much that 1 month couldn't just do that fully for me.
Yeah, it was already a rocky period in the relationship, and so when you left, we weren't on the best terms.
No, we weren't. It was really hard.
And so for me, that was very tough.
Yeah.
Because we weren't really in communication much.
Yeah, I felt
you were there. You wanted to kind of get your space, and I agree. It is important to have your own time and maybe your own hobbies.
Yeah, and
in relationships. But for me, that was, alone in the house and just apart was tough. And
yeah, and like I get emotional thinking of that time, because I never meant to hurt you, right? Like I never meant to just shut down and shut you out and run away. Like I never thought that those were the characteristics or qualities that I had. I always felt like I was a really honest person, an open person, and I was so caught up in my ego and in myself, and I didn't realize like how much pain I was causing you for being gone for 5 weeks after you just bought a brand new home practically.
And look, today I would definitely support you doing something like that, but
I know. But
at the time
it just wasn't good.
At the time we were already,
so
on the rocks, and
yeah,
and so that was kind of.
It was just really hard. We went through hell. We went through a really rough time, and then I got back from Costa Rica.
Yep, you came back, and I sort of gave you the ultimatum, if you will, to say, what are we doing here? Are we doing this? Or what,
Yeah.
what's good?
I just want to like add my 2 cents here. I truly, I don't really like to believe in ultimatums because I feel like ultimatums, the person who's giving it kind of gives you the choice of like,
Almost forces your hand a little bit.
yeah, it's either you're forcing to do something or it's like, well, if you leave, then that's your decision. So it's like putting kind of like a blame on someone. Like it's like when someone gives you an ultimatum, they're okay with you doing the thing that they didn't want. You know what I mean? Okay. Does that make sense? So I have to get specific.
Yeah, for me, I wasn't trying to force you to make a decision.
But you were okay
I wanted to know.
with
I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Are we doing this?
Like someone's like, if you don't do this, then I'm going to be angry. And if you leave, then like, that's on you. And like, it's easier for them to blame. Like, well, you're the person who chose to leave. Right. But it's like, but you gave the ultimatum. So you were okay with me leaving by giving me the ultimatum in the first place.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't my intention. I wanted to know.
You were just so hurt.
I wanted to know.
I'm just trying to share like a lesson of like
Yeah.
ultimatums. That's why I'm not aligned with giving somebody an ultimatum and being given an ultimatum because I'm not going to take the responsibility or blame of something. So whatever. Anyways, just wanted to share that because I think that's like the topic that I go through with my clients. So we broke up in the car from you picking me up from the airport of Costa Rica. Like,
that's right.
Like he didn't, he didn't hold back and it was ugly. And we lived in the house for 4 or 5 weeks together, broken up. Which I do want to say, like I held a workshop week. I held a launch. I started my group program during that. I don't know how I did that while I was going through a breakup.
It was impressive. I mean, this speaks to our relationship. We were still cooking dinner together some nights and
watching movies.
We were still on good terms.
We're best friends.
It was almost like we were temporarily only friends.
Yeah.
It was, a unique time in our relationship. But
and yeah, we were best friends. It was so hard. It was like so sad. Like we would cry and hug.
I think we were both experiencing some pain, but
we really accepted that like our relationship was over. Like
yeah, I really thought it was.
Me too. I mean, we really grieved and it was really hard living in the house, but we were also like on good terms because we were like in the same friend groups. But it's okay. So let's get into like the actual breakup. This is the juicy stuff. Sorry, we're like this much in, but you got to have a little backstory and I hope you're connected to us. So I moved out end of August. I was traveling back and forth between friends and home for a few weeks until I got this apartment that I'm moving in like a day or two. So I thought it was good to just record this here as we start this next chapter. But anyway, so I moved out and it all fucking hit me like hard, like a ton of bricks. Like, whew, I went home for 2 weeks. And within like 2 or 3 days, I legit got smacked in the face. I told everybody, I was like, I got run over by a truck is how I feel, with downloads and lessons and epiphanies, one after the other. And it was so heavy and it was so hard and it was so emotional. I remember writing down in my journal like a list. I forgot my journal, you guys. I was going to read my lessons, but I'll share that.
And candidly, I was pretty much ready to move on.
You were moving on. You were having fun.
Well, not even that. I was trying to move on to the next chapter to overcome, the hurt that I was feeling.
Yeah, I mean, like we had accepted that the relationship was over.
Pretty much.
So I moved into this apartment, and it was the first time I was ever living alone. I was going through a heartbreak. It was really, 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 really hard. I'll share like the comeback story here. I really want to touch on the lessons that we learned during our breakup, at least for me. And then if you have anything you want to share.
Let's hear it.
So things that I really realized was I didn't communicate effectively. I was assuming that you knew what I needed or what I meant. If you're listening and you're saying like, well, they should just know what I want or what I need because they love me and we've been together long enough. That's what I was saying. And that's not cool because then you're putting the responsibility in somebody else's and they can't read your mind. They really can't. And ladies, I know you're probably shaking your head and being like, fuck, I'm getting called out. Because I know we do this. And we really need to understand that men speak a different language. You saying I'm fine, they think you're fine. No, communicate. I'm upset right now, or I'm annoyed, or whatever it is. I need a hug. I need a kiss. I need to just like act like you care, buy me flowers. Like just tell them what you need and not make assumptions, and fully communicate where you're at, what you're struggling with, so that they can show up for you.
That's a huge piece of it, the communication, but also I think you have to realize that no relationship is perfect, right? There's always going to be ups and downs, roller coasters along the way. But if you just don't commit to working on it and give up, then it's never going to work, right? Like, you have to commit to working through some challenges.
I kind of like...
It's going to happen.
Yeah, and
it's inevitable.
It's
right?
interesting because I have divorced parents, and so like I know relationships aren't perfect, yet I always say like I was brainwashed by Disney, literally, like thinking that like a Prince Charming was just gonna come sweep me off my feet and I would live happily ever after. It was just so unrealistic, and that
you had a bit of a pipe dream on that.
I did, and I had to learn that, and I had to communicate what I needed from you as a partner in a relationship, and I wasn't communicating. On top of that, another lesson is I was not compromising.
In what sense?
I mean, I'm a pretty bold, independent, strong personality.
Very bold.
I don't want to say like I like things my way or the highway, because that's really not how I like to flow. And yet, I do sometimes have tendencies of being a little bossy or controlling, especially because I see things very differently than other people. So, like, I don't know, you guys, I'm an industrial engineer. Like, I'm really big on efficiency and stuff like that. So let's just say, like, I like things being done right. And when I see something not being done, like, I go a little crazy. And that is a controlling thing. But anyways, I wasn't willing to compromise on certain things. They're a little bit like more specific, and I don't really remember specific details, but
it was a lot of things. And again, we didn't really commit to working through some of the challenges that we had, right? So that was a takeaway. And why don't we talk about the comeback after?
Well, hold on, I got a few more lessons that people need to know about relationships. Okay. So, effectively communicating. You're going to need a compromise in a relationship. It is a give and take, and you may be listening and being like, yeah, this is obvious. Okay, but like sometimes when you're in the middle of it and you're in the middle of an argument or a hard period in time, are you compromising, or are you holding a grudge, or are you holding resentment, or are you giving attitude? You know what I mean? Like, are you compromising? Are you willing to get over it? Because if you're not going to remember when you're 72, get over it. If it doesn't matter in 72 hours, get over it, right? And like... Right. I just wasn't willing to compromise on certain things, or viewpoints, right? As you bring children involved and get into more adulthood, like you need to compromise, but you need to communicate, and you need to both hear each other out. And we weren't doing that.
I think you need to set expectations too. Right?
Okay, like, that was another, yay!
Like, if you're thinking about a future together, right, you need to think about what your values are, what your goals are, and how do they overlap? What are the things that don't reconcile that you need to address,
and you need to communicate that. And so moving into like expectations, another lesson was I expected so much from you. I expected perfection, really, and I wasn't communicating it.
See what I'm dealing with, guys?
We were dealing with. I expected perfection, and I tried to control the future so much to have the future plan out the way I expected it that I was missing out on the present moment. And so you need to communicate those expectations, those needs of yours, and be willing to compromise, because maybe your partner doesn't feel comfortable doing what it is you want to do. Like, all these things tie in together. And if you don't do one or all three, like, it's going to get messy.
Totally. And just a quick recommendation for a book, The 5 Love Languages.
Yeah.
That book really helped shift my perspective and improved our relationship.
100%.
I think I'd recommend that to anybody, including men.
Everyone, if any relationship.
Anybody in a relationship, because even if you're single, right? Because it helps you determine how they receive certain ways of getting praise or love, etc. And it definitely shifted my perspective.
Yeah, no, I love that. And just a few other lessons here. I made assumptions. Again, like, did I say that one already? That I assumed that you knew what I needed or what I meant or what I was desiring, and without communicating it.
Right.
Yeah, again, communication, you guys, was the biggest one. And then for me personally, two big personal ones that are like they just are heavy was I had a fear of commitment, and I didn't know this. I didn't identify with someone, like the label of like somebody who would run away and shut down and not commit. Like I just like I don't want to say I judged people with that, but I was like, I'm not that person. Like, but when push came to shove, I was, because I had so much unhealed shit from my past, from growing up, from previous relationships. I didn't know how to feel and heal and genuinely, like, I didn't know how to fully let go. I was caught up in the stories and I was caught up in the past. And even though I knew so much of the knowledge I knew, like I just took a lot of work. That's why I love breath work, because it did a lot of things on a cellular basis, not just a mindset basis. So I had a fear of commitment. And so if you have a fear of commitment, doing work around that, that's going to need to happen.
And it was, moving into a house together, I think maybe scared you a little bit.
Yeah, all my friends were like getting engaged. Like I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready.
For lack of a better word.
Because we were just in such a not good period. Right. And we were together for...
Yeah. It was already trending and maybe not the best direction before that. And so...
And then a really big one, I did a breakthrough session with a friend of mine. I realized I didn't feel worthy. So not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy are really deep-rooted beliefs, limiting beliefs that stem for a lot of people. But I realized I didn't feel worthy of a healthy relationship. I didn't feel worthy of you. I didn't feel worthy of your love, of your.
What do you think drives that?
A decision I made when I was a child, based on situations in my past, maybe watching my parents. Like, these beliefs come from when we're, mostly children or a significant emotional event, and I made something mean something at a time in my life, and
it stuck with you.
A big reason I didn't feel worthy of our healthy, loving relationship, I didn't feel worthy of you, was because I was still carrying around that guilt of my past, like kind of like living that double life with you in college, my previous relationship, not getting that closure. Like, I carried around a lot of guilt. My breakthrough session before Costa Rica released that guilt, and this is why I'm so heavily in belief of this work, because it works. Like, when I went with Allie to Costa Rica, she was like, girl, I haven't heard you say the word I feel bad, I feel guilty since the breakthrough. It works. And then I realized I had another deeper belief, which was I'm not worthy. So these are just things I came into realization as we were going, when we were separated. We spent 4 weeks not talking when I moved into this apartment. Did I? Right? Are you
Correct. So let's dive into the comeback.
Okay, yeah. So I learned all these lessons, like I said, and I had a really, really it was really I'm gonna just say this, when you're going through hard shit and when you're feeling emotions, feel it, and feel it to the extensity. I had moments where I was dropping on my knees praying to God, sobbing in so much physical and emotional pain. And I'm just going to keep it real and honest with you, because we're all humans. We all experience this. And it just is what it is. And so I had the realization.
What made you have that realization?
Okay, so I had all these lessons, and I was like, oh my God, did I make the right decision? And I kind of just let it boil up inside of me. And then actually, okay, this is a story I haven't told many people. When I was driving home from my friend's house, I was driving and I was listening to the song that I love, and randomly the song glitched. And it wasn't I looked at my phone, nothing. And it was a worship song. And I started praying. I was like, okay, Lord, if you want to speak to me, like, what are you trying to share with me right now? What's the message? And as I was driving, I started getting visions of me, like, walking down the aisle to you. Like, I started seeing you as, like...
You haven't even told me this.
Are you really?
I have not heard this.
Are you really?
Yes.
That's what I said. I've only told a few people. Okay. Oh, my God.
Let's hear this.
So I got those visions, and I started sobbing because, like, as you know, throughout the entire time living together or being together, I didn't really express to you that I wanted to marry you, or I just didn't, like, vocalize that because I didn't feel it. I was scared and whatnot. So me seeing this and feeling this, you guys, I was freaking the F out. And so, okay, I went home, I changed, I hung out with my friends that night. I went home back alone, and, like, my friends felt like I was in a really heavy energetic state. Like, my friends felt the energy of heartbreak, of everything. Like, I was going through it. And so, did I tell you this one? So that night,
I think she realized
what
she had.
Okay, yeah, I did. I learned a lot of lessons. It was a big smack in the face, and I'm not taking full responsibility because it was a dual ship.
I agree.
But that night, I woke up at 3:34 in the morning, which they say is spirit hour. And I woke up gasping for air, and I was sobbing. Like, I just woke up from a horrible dream. And I kind of, like, felt like I was under, like, a spiritual attack, essentially. And so I just started praying, and I heard the words, get up, stand up. Have I told you this? So I heard the words, stand up. And so I just kept praying, and I put worship music on, and it's like 3:34 in the morning, and I was like, okay, like, what do you need me to see? And I got a vision where I this is so weird that I'm like, sorry, this is like weird, but I saw you sitting on the couch, and I felt the amount of heartbreak and pain that you felt. It was like you were holding, like, a glass of whiskey. Like, that's what I saw. And I was like...
That's probably what I was doing.
Yeah, and I feel like that was what you maybe did in Costa Rica when I hurt you. And I don't think I realized before how much I had hurt you. Me just leaving and, like, just not communicating and everything. And so when I saw that vision and felt that in my heart, I dropped to the ground. I dropped to my knees, and I started sobbing. Like, it hurt so much. Like, I felt like I was I felt your pain. And I said, okay, God, like, what do you want me to do? And he again just showed me, like, me marrying you. And I said, okay, like, if you bring him back into my life, I remember to this day, it's in my journal, I committed to God. And I was like, okay, if you bring him back into my life, like, I'm marrying him. I'm not letting him go. I'm going to treat him the best. I'm going to be the best wife to him. And those were the words. That was the one time I admitted, like, I wanted you to be my husband. And, like, I never say those words. You know that. You knew, or I didn't. Right?
Correct. That was something
New.
Before that, you feared that commitment, I think.
Yeah.
And at this point in the story, I really lost your trust, right? Like, because if it's happened this time, why won't it happen again? Right?
Especially the fear of commitment.
That was the next phase of
so
how we move forward. Because
so I told, like, two friends this. My friends were over, and they saw, like, I was manic, like, anxious, sobbing, crying. Like, I had no idea what to do with these visions. Like, I never had a vision before, felt this. So, and I was like, oh my God, like, no, Evan's my husband. I want to marry him. Like, and they were like, what the fuck, Tati? Like, you never speak this way. And I remember one of my guy friends was like, you need to tell him because he has no idea. What?
Which guy friend?
Ben. So whatever. I hit him up. He was giving me attitude, obviously, because he was hurt. He came over.
Was it attitude or was it just not?
You're closed off. You had walls.
Not responding.
So our comeback story. Do you remember when I told you I was pacing in this apartment?
I remember.
Back and forth, sweating. Like, I had sweat down my face. And I remember just looking at you, and I just told you everything that I had realized and I learned, and I loved you. And I pretty much, I don't need to give details because that's for us, but I pretty much told him, like, everything that I wanted, and I loved him. And you kind of just, like, you tell me. How did that feel?
I'm not ashamed to say on the podcast, I cried in that conversation.
That was really heavy.
Because that was a powerful one. And I was like, damn,
you're probably overwhelmed.
This girl she means business. It wasn't,
I was freaking out. I couldn't even sit.
It wasn't, an act. I could tell. It was real. It was real.
And I will say that, yes, you felt that. You didn't let me off easy.
And I still was not ready to build that trust back.
So it
was going to take some time.
Yeah, so I told him, I was like, I'm going to commit to proving to you that I'm serious. I'm going to do what it takes. We are in the same friend group, so that definitely helped.
And talk about roles reversed. Back in college, I was trying to convince this girl to date me, and now she's telling me she'll do whatever it takes to get me back.
Yeah. So
it's funny how it comes full circle.
I know. I got a taste of my own medicine, right? You tormented me a little bit, and so we were talking. We were slowly talking, and it was so awkward. Like, we've known each other since 2013, but like, it was awkward. Like, I was so nervous to text you and to like hang out with you. Like, I had my friends tell me, like, look at my text because I was so nervous. Like, you guys, like, that feeling when you're talking to someone new? That's how I felt, because I was just so scared to mess it up.
And on top of that, our mutual friends would have parties.
Yeah.
And we would see each other at these parties.
That helped. Our friends helped, yeah. And then...
Well, it was a little awkward.
It was awkward. Good. Shout out to our friends for keeping... They
didn't pick one or the other.
They didn't pick sides. Honestly, I will say this here. We would not be here also without our friends. Some of our friends. We had some extremely difficult, honest, vulnerable conversations with a few members of our friend group, individually and together. And they
shout out to you guys listening to this. You know who you are.
Yeah, like, I will forever be grateful for you. We love you. And I think this just shows like how important it is to have a community and friends and support around you. Because people they really make a big difference, and they share their stories, and their stories are what impacted us of like, oh, okay, like, we aren't the first couple that broke up and got back together or like went through this shit.
You realize this stuff's normal. This is a tale as old as time, guys.
Yeah, it is.
It's a tale as old as time.
So
right.
The holidays came. We were still kind of like just like awkwardly talking, and I remember you came to my mom's house. Do you remember that?
I remember.
And I think that was the moment it changed for you. That's when you actually really started.
We were starting to turn the corner.
Yeah, but like you had a wall up. You were making me work for it, which is fine. A little bit.
Well, you had to earn it. Yeah. Don't you agree?
And but you were pushing it. But
she had to earn it, guys.
Yeah. No, I agree. I do agree. So the holidays came, and
I remember how excited you were that I was coming.
Because I didn't have an expectation. I really released. I detached, and I was like, you know what? If we see each other, we see each other. And if we don't, we don't. Like, I had to learn. A big lesson for me this entire time was learning to surrender, let go, and let God. Like, take the wheel. Like, just go with the flow of life. Because you guys saw, like, I was trying to control so much of the future and things that I was obviously ruining my future in the present moment because of the control. So the holidays came. It changed it up. When we got home, New Year's Eve, I think, was like a moment where we were like, okay, like, we're doing good. Like, right? Would you agree?
Right. I think I needed some time, and it had been a few months,
and then we started falling back in love. I mean, we started dating again, like actually dating, like going on dates.
It was our first date. We went out to play some mini golf.
Yeah, I actually have the card. I beat your ass.
I kicked your ass.
That's a lie. I have it right there. I literally just packed it. It was going to your drawers.
Drank some beer and played mini golf.
I kicked your ass.
We had some fun.
But so, I mean, and
it was almost like we
started over.
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys know us in person, or some people have noticed it online, like, you and I energetically are different people. The time apart, the breakup.
We've grown a lot.
Healed a lot.
I've grown a lot.
Yeah, I've grown a lot too. And I feel like we individually have a different energy to us in our relationship. It's a whole new energetic relationship. Like, it's so different and it's so new. I love it. Like, and so this is what, May? Or like, we got, so I told him, as we were dating, I'm like, hey, obviously we're on the track. Like, we're doing good. I was like, don't ask me to be your girlfriend until, like, you're actually ready. because at first I didn't want to be controlling. Because I was like, when you ask me to be your girlfriend, that's going to mean forever. Like, we're not doing this again. Like, we're committing or we're not. And then you asked me to be your girlfriend.
And how was that experience for you?
It was good. It's the first time we have an anniversary now, January 24th. Because
that's crazy that we don't have an anniversary.
I know, because I always said no every other time. And it's like we started with a new slate and we committed to create a new relationship with honesty and communication and being intentional with quality time as well as having space.
And you built that trust back up. I think we built it for each other.
And now we're here. We're moving in together in like a day or two. What is it?
It's been a journey.
And we really wanted to share this because we're the happiest, the most in love we've ever been. For 5 months now. So
it's incredible.
So you asked me to be your girl. Oh, go.
And like you said, right? Like, if this can help one couple or one person, whatever the case is, I think mission accomplished.
Yeah,
right?
it's worth
it. This conversation's been worth it, and it's been fun.
Yeah, and like just one thing I want to touch on. Like, what are we? May. So like January, February, March, April, May. So like we're 4 or 5 months now into dating again. And like, like that honeymoon phase that every new relationship has, like we're not in a honeymoon phase because our relationship is that good. It feels like that.
It really feels like it's stronger than ever.
We are so strong. We are so happy. And I really just want to share that like you can have this too, whether you're single or you're in a relationship and things are going hard. Like space sometimes could be the best thing you can imagine because it's going to give you a different perspective. You're going to learn lessons. You're going to have time for yourself. And you may learn that person isn't meant for you. Okay. And that's going to suck, but that means somebody else will be there for you. And you may also learn things that might be able to bring you back together. And one big thing I want to say is never say never. Like, I know we had both accepted that our relationship was over, but people did ask me, like, in the future, like 5 years from now, if you run into together. And I always said I will never say never, right?
Yeah, and I think it goes both ways in the sense that don't give up, right?
Yeah.
Like, in the beginning, when she was pushing back on dating, right? Like, I didn't give up. I persisted. Mm-hmm. And then, conversely, in this recent period in the relationship, she didn't give up, right? And if either of us didn't do that, we wouldn't be where we are today, right? And again,
Agreed.
It's never going to be perfect. And I think to your point, it's important to have your own hobbies or me time, whatever the case is.
I do. Yeah, and I agree. And I also do want to add to that, like, yeah, persistence is key. And at the same time, doing your
commitment.
That too. So many things. But doing your own work. We all have baggage. We all have trauma. We all have pain and emotion. And when we get into relationships, because our society doesn't teach us how to process emotions, or our parents are divorced, or our first heartbreak, we bring our baggage in these new relationships and sometimes expect the other people to know how to fix it or to make us feel loved. And you can't receive and give love to the fullest until you learn how to give that to yourself. So like, whether you're single, if you're single right now, this is the time for you to do that work, to heal, to release the baggage or beliefs or things from your past. And if you're in a relationship right now, that may be taking time apart and doing that. And you can also do that together when there's open communication. Maybe you share this with your partner. I remember I listened to a podcast episode right before remember that? I sent it to you. It was a couple that they separated for 6 months. They were married. And I told them, I was like, I think we need space. Right? Like, at the end of the day, like, we need to work on our baggage, with whether it's from our parents, our upbringings, our bullies. Like, we have, you guys know, you're in the podcast. We have shit, and we can't bring baggage from our childhood, from our past relationships into new relationships, because it's not fair to the other person and it's not for the relationship. So just something I want to add to that.
I agree. And I think when you brought up that podcast that you mentioned about this couple getting separated, I think I took that as insulting almost, or like I didn't like that, right? That you were bringing that up. But I think if I gave it a chance and actually listened to it, maybe it would have helped.
You didn't listen to it?
No, I did, but I didn't actually listen to what they were saying.
Read between the lines.
Yeah,
that
and
people
maybe if
had
I
things they had
did,
to heal.
maybe if I tried to get value out of it.
Because with that baggage, you're
helped.
looking, you're showing up in the world with that lens, with those behaviors, with those beliefs, with that pain, with those backpack of emotions, right? And so, yeah, so doing the work is important as well. And continuing doing the work, because I'm not saying we're going to be like butterflies and rainbows the entire time of our lives. Obviously, we're going to go through stuff. It's life. But I feel like with the lessons we learned and the commitment we have and the healing and growth that we've done, we're going to be able to like show up so much stronger when, if those times come. And I really did, excuse me, I just burped.
You're good.
I just wanted to share that, like, that other people can have this too, whether you're in a, your relationship is going through a dark period, or your marriage, or you're single and you don't know what you want. Like, relationships aren't perfect. Don't stop judging yourself from the cute couples that you find on Instagram or TikTok reels, because it's not always truth. And that messed with my head a little bit too, but we're here now. We are the happiest we've ever been. We're around an hour now. We have done a lot of things to commit to this growth that have brought us closer together, that have, I believe every relationship should have certain aspects of things that we have done to be at the level where we're at now. I think we should save that for another episode though. Like the steps, the things that we have been doing to make this new relationship stronger and better than ever. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. Let's wrap it up for today, and maybe we can run it back for another episode.
Okay, so you guys, that's our story. Oh my god, that's how we met. That's what we've been through. I really hope you can appreciate us being so open and vulnerable. Thank you, babe.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Anything last thing you want to say?
I do want to wrap it up by saying things have worked out better than I ever could have imagined, right? Like, I love South Florida. I love living here. Got an amazing woman by my side that, we've been through a lot, but it's turned out to be amazing along the way, and just couldn't have worked out better. And enjoyed talking about it with you.
I love you. Cool.
Well, baby. And it's just a couple questions to end it. How about that?
Questions for me?
Questions for you.
Okay.
So.
Okay, guys, I have no idea what these are. So
these are going to be.
Bear with me.
Quick sentence responses.
Okay.
If you could go back to day one of college, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
Day one, or the day I met you?
Like starting day one, and then additionally, one piece of advice along the way through our struggles.
Okay.
What would you tell
your
former self?
So my old self, stepping into college, I would tell her,
it can only be one piece of advice.
You're more than you think you are. So discover who you truly are. Don't listen to the world and what they're telling you who to be. Discover who you are and what you want, and go after that. Don't listen to others.
I like that.
Damn, I wish my younger self heard that. That's okay. We're here now.
Thank God we know what we know now.
Yeah. And what was the other question?
And then, through our struggles, whether it be, the first or second breakup, what advice would you tell your former self?
Girl, heal. Get closure. Fully lay everything from your past to rest, so you can be and show up in a new relationship or a new chapter of your life fully without that past baggage.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. There you have it, everybody.
Any other questions?
That's all I got.
I got one question for you.
What's that?
What do you love most about me?
Whew. That's a good one. It's so many things, right? I just think it's, the passion you have for life, the inspiration that you bring to me every day by chasing your dreams, bringing out the potential in people around you, and just really proud of who you've become, and your support. It's been huge for me and my growth personally.
Yeah.
And then, just chasing your dreams every day. It's inspiring.
I love you.
Love you too.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys are like not getting too blushy with this love right here. We're in a good place and we've grown a lot. And so, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No. First podcast experience has been a lot of fun, and it's good to be here. And thanks for listening, everybody.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. If this provoked anything for you, few things. If you're like, oh man, I could use some guidance, I have questions for you, whatever, like shoot us a message, like email me, DM me. I'm an open book, obviously, and I'm here to support you. I would love to give you any words of encouragement, wisdom, guidance with wherever you're at in your life, especially when it comes to relationships. And if you learned anything from this, if you valued from it, if you loved it, I mean, share it with someone who else could value from it, because not all relationships are perfect. And I think when we share more of our authentic truth, we can build stronger relationships, which I think our society really needs now in this moment, in this time. And make sure if you share, like take a screenshot, tag us on Instagram, you know the deal. Did you say you don't want to say something?
And one more thing, guys. I think if I think back to a couple of years ago, I would never have been open to having this this conversation publicly, right? So I think that speaks to the growth and on the personal side over the years, and Tatiana's really helped contribute to that. So thank you, and just put it out there and hope people find value in it.
Yeah, you've grown a lot, babe. I'm excited to see where this chapter brings us. So here we are. Thank you guys so much for listening. We're gonna move in together. We're going to have so much fun, and follow along with us. Make sure you're following me at Tatiana_Kuto on Instagram. I tend to share more of the behind the scenes of us and our relationship on stories in my YouTube channel. But thank you guys for listening. I appreciate and love you so much. I hope this touched your heart. I hope you have a deeper connection with me and now a part of my life that I've never really been open about before. And now it's here for the world to hear. So I love you guys, and I will see you in the next episode.
Cheers, everybody. Thanks.